And thank you for holding this really important hearing. The gun violence epidemic in this country that we face is like nowhere else in the world. In a recent national poll, 58% of American adults reported that they or someone they care for has experienced gun violence in their lifetime. Americans are 25 times more likely than people in other nations to experience gun violence. We lose 38,000 Americans every single year to senseless gun violence, including 23,000 Americans that die by suicide every year with a gun. There have been almost 200 mass shootings in 2021 alone. We have a gun violence epidemic in this country. And the answers that we always hear from the opponents of common sense gun safety legislation are twofold. One is, we can't pass a law that will stop every bit of gun violence in the country, so we should do nothing. Or, criminals are gonna commit crimes anyway. Both of those things are true. But that doesn't mean we don't have a responsibility to pass laws that will substantially reduce gun violence in this country. And we know how to do it. We've researched it for years. And I want to say to Mr. Guttenberg, to the pastor, thank you for being such incredible advocates. Every time you're asked to talk about this, I know you relive this unbearably painful experience. You are, for me, a tremendous inspiration, and I thank you for being here. Mr. Skaggs, thank you for the great work that you do and your organization does. And while I don't have a question for Ms. Muller, one of the reasons that maybe people aren't listening to you, because when arguments are made that a deranged, seriously mentally ill person should get to keep a firearm which endangers the community, and the off chance that that dangerously mentally ill person will need the firearm to defend himself is lunacy. And that's why I think we find it difficult to listen to some of the things you've suggested today. We know what we need to do. Universal background checks, closing the Charleston loophole, the assault weapons ban, red flag laws, ban the sale of ghost guns, make sure that people buy ammunition, go through a background check. These things will save lives. And so the first thing I have is for you, Mr. Skaggs. Can you explain what the danger is with respect to the background check system with ghost guns? Because there's evidence that gangs and drug dealers and criminal elements are assembling and getting guns, ghost guns, and how does that relate to the background check system?
Well, the reason ghost guns are so dangerous is because all the people you described are able to acquire these guns without a background check. At the end of the day, if you need to drill a couple of holes in an unfinished product to assemble your own gun at home, the gun functions just like an AR-15 that you bought fully assembled. The gun functions just like a Glock pistol that you bought fully assembled, but under a misinterpretation of federal law, these products, because they're not 100% finished, are sold without background checks. There's no serial number, no record keeping, and that's why criminals are using them. That's why they're attractive to illegal gun traffickers.
Thank you. Representative Goodwin, thank you for your good work. You know, there's been a lot of discussion about this city or this state has great gun laws, but it hasn't solved all the problems. Would you speak a little bit of why state regulation or local regulation of firearms isn't enough to prevent gun violence, and what role you believe the federal government must play for effective strategies to reduce gun violence in this country?
Absolutely. I mean, we can cross state lines very easily. So one state having one law that's different from the next door neighbor isn't effective enough. We have such a patchwork quilt of regulations on our guns. So we need a universal background check that's throughout the United States. So someone can't go into Oklahoma and come into Texas with a gun, or vice versa. It's critical that we do the things that you mentioned, the universal background checks. I was just speaking with a federal firearms licensee who came across somebody who was selling these ghost guns, and there's very little that he can do. I know it was brought up, why don't some of these people get punished? Well, a lot of your gun store owners don't have a responsibility to turn that information in, and they don't want to get involved in it. So we've got to have better laws.
Thank you. And I just want to ask Mr. Guttenberg, with my last 30 seconds, I know there was Ms. Muller said she was frustrated. I don't think by that she meant that you share the same frustration. You've lost a child, and you have come time and time again imploring the Congress of the United States to take action so that other children and other people across this country don't have their lives taken because of senseless gun violence. Do you have some final thoughts for this committee?
Well, you know what? I'm going to go back to the ghost gun question and why this matters. because another unfortunate friend of mine, Brian Mullenberger in California, whose daughter Gracie died in the Saugus school shooting of a ghost gun. Just so everyone here knows why this work matters. After his daughter was killed, his dead daughter, went online and purchased the components to then make a ghost gun. That's how easy it was, okay? So anyone who thinks we shouldn't be doing better than that, I mean, Brian documented the whole entire thing. And by the way, not only was she dead, she was, I think, 14 or 15 when she did it and was able to successfully achieve it. So your work matters. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Let's keep doing this.
Thank you, and I yield back, Madam Chair.
Gentleman yields back. His time has expired.